Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Anambra. It's Monday and of course November is running like what? I don't know how to explain it. But all the same, we thank God for a beautiful day like this. And we thank God for you always waking up with us on ABS on Good Morning Anambra show. My name is Nonya Mwokoye, thanking you for always being there for us. Let's begin the show with the press review. This press review, and we've been joined this morning by Samuel Ololo, Public Affairs Analyst. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me. Happy new month. Happy new week.
New week. Thank you so much.
Anambra, happy new week to all of us.
All right. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right. The program is audience participatory. You can go on our Facebook page to drop your comment as this program is going on. Any issue of importance, you can always drop your comment. Let's begin with looking at stories making their headlines on ABS website. Anambra Investment Summit, Tinubu lauds Soludo on landmark projects. 2024 Anambra Investment Summit, state government unveils investment opportunities. Flood. Anambra State government receives relief materials from Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Anambra Free Education Policy PPSSC goes after child hawkers, seeks collaboration with local government council chairman. Nigeria qualifies for 2025 AFCON in Morocco, holds Benin Republic 1-1 draw. Dry season, NCDC issues alert on Lassa fever, cerebrospinal meningitis. All right. These and other stories are stories we are looking at. Okay, FG approved medium-term expenditure framework for 2025 to 2027. And the last but not the least, Russia intensifies attack on Ukraine's energy facilities, military infrastructure. All right, let's see which of the stories. You know, these summits, investment summit, it appeared 2 times here, where our president is lauding Soludo, that's a governor, on landmark projects, and again, unveiling of investment opportunities to people.
Yeah, that investment summit was held last week, and it was
Thursday.
Last week Thursday, and it was well attended. I think naturally people who would attend the investment summit are those who have investment plans for the state, and those who are looking for investment opportunities. It gives you opportunity to understand the direction of the state government. And so being present there makes you understand the feeling of the state. And that's a good one, being that such investment is what drives foreign and as well as local direct investment into the state. And I remember that usually either half a year, there is these publications that come out trying to earmark states that attracted highest investment. For a while now, under the present administration, we have not really seen Anambra State come up first, fifth as states where people are coming to invest. And so it's good that this conversation is going on to make Anambra.
And you know, there is something outstanding that I learned from that summit when Cosmas Madoka, that's Coscharis, spoke intensively about bringing somebody. He came with somebody, says a young Anambra, you know, that has been building factories outside Anambra, and he wanted to build the 3rd one. He now said, no, please, let's go to Anambra. And there's something he said. He said he's going to get, that the guy said is the CFO that is the problem, that is going to get it for him under 24 hours. And I was like, I pray that the way he gets it for him should be the same way every Anambra that is willing to invest should get his or her own.
Yeah,
so what's your thoughts on that?
So these are the beauty of it, really. And when we talk about investment haven, it just goes beyond the rhetorics. It goes beyond what the state governments have even promised or said. It also goes beyond the assurances or the actions of the state government to an individual. It should encompass all.
Oh.
So if certain persons are privileged,
whether you or no, you are connected. That's where I'm coming from.
So if these people who are connected, and then even if the money bags come to the state to do their macro investment, let's not also forget the medium, the small scale, the micro investments. People that might not really have that money in billions.
And also make
so it should cut across.
The environment.
So the environment, when we talk of both the CFO that is getting the certificate of occupancy to the land, where you now know that this land has been given to you by the government, and so it is now your full right, and not that tomorrow you will be threatened that the land or whatever you have been to be demolished. That is part of what the CFO does. Then finally, we are looking at the security situation too. So that people who are coming to invest, while they are investing, their lives are not at risk. They are sure of their safety, also their property. They are sure of the safety of their property. These are the things that would now add, that would garnish the scenario for people to begin to invest more. But the most important thing is, what this investment does is it improves income and economic ability of the state to even carry out more activities in the state.
All right, my attention goes to this dry season story that we have here. You know, I've been a health enlightenment presenter over the years, and this thing was on my mind over the weekend to do a production concerning the season. Now, you see, dry season, NCDC issuing a lot on Lassa fever, you know, cerebrospinal meningitis, and knowing that in Nigeria we have dry and rainy season, and the dry seasons are here. Okay,
so it's good, and then we appreciate NCDC for
that alert,
that red alert, and we are using this candid opportunity to once again charge both the federal government, especially the Ministry of Health, the State Ministry of Health, the state government, and National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, as well as the State Primary Healthcare Development Agency in Nigeria across board, that this is a wake-up call. And most of the times, we appreciate the good work that they have been doing, trying to restructure or rephase or remodel the facilities. Why those things are good? I think it's also important that these agencies of the government that we have mentioned, as well as all others, should begin to understand that beyond infrastructure, the capacity of the healthcare service providers to respond to this kind of emergencies is also important, right? The data, let's begin now to collect data and not throw them away, so that wherever we pick it, we can quickly go into that particular local government or community to address it, and not waiting when it is now spread all over and we don't know where to start, we don't know what to do.
Confusion.
So now that this has come up, we even have our disease control that at the state level, the state epidemiology, I think I know him. This is an opportunity for everybody to come on board. Why we are not going to play with the data that will be coming up from the communities, especially from the primary healthcare centers. We should make the primary healthcare centers well equipped. What happened?
And functional.
What happened during COVID, where during COVID-19, people were running helter-skelter. Primary healthcare centers were even scared to accept COVID patients because they don't know the implication to other patients. I think we need to be up and doing. This should also be a wake-up call that our politicians, those who have been saddled with responsibility to equip the primary healthcare centers, make them functional for both the wealthy, the haves and the have-nots, the old, the young, most especially pregnant women, children under 5. These are people, even people suffering with HIV/AIDS, people that have tuberculosis, people that have malaria. These are people who are prone to contracting these diseases. And I bet you, cerebral meningitis, it is not something you can play with. Once somebody contracts it has a way of altering the person's well-being.
System. All right, let's run the first paper for review. The Daily Sun newspaper, that's what we are looking at. The banner headlines in front of the Daily Sun reads, Obasanjo calls for sack of INEC chairman and officials. Bleak Christmas as cargo volume dips by 40%. Outrage, shock, trail FG's proposed the 2025 budget. And Nigeria, India pledge rise in economic defense, other ties. Miss Universe have made history, says Chidinma Adetshina, first runner-up. Ondo, Tinubu, Buhari, APC, others hail victory. NAS may miss December target for constitution review. All right, these are stories making their headlines in front of the Daily Sun newspapers. Which one are you looking at? Is it because of Ondo election or today?
So for me, it should not be because of Ondo election, because Ondo is a state in Southwest, and we know that many of these states in Southwest are more of APC apologists, not due to ethnic. I mean, APC tend to be at home in Ondo and other many Southwest locations. So if it is because of the outcome of the election, I don't think it is wise for us to say, let the INEC chairman go. But our concern is, over time, the process of the election, how the election is being managed, and even how they react to some of these outcomes of the election. So it is one thing, I shudder when people say you should be magnanimous to accept defeat, that it's not a do or die affair. And the next question is, when you are saying people who have contested to accept defeat, do they really trust the process? So if the process is free, fair, that everybody could see, then there will be no need for you to blinker. You know that, okay, this is the best thing that the people have chosen. But that moment when you saw vote buying and INEC could do nothing about it, you saw even the police running away when there are certain level of crisis, police running away. It begins to ask, so are we playing here? And then that also shows how serious we are as a nation. It's high time we understand that every election is so important, that the lives, both the well-being, both the health, both the education of the people in that country or in that state lies in that man. So if the process is malfunctioned or not gotten correctly, then the outcome would also be as useless as the process. And it would then have the tendency of producing people who cannot stand to defend the people. And I tell you, I will keep using this analogy. A man who is 24 years at the beginning of an administration will become 28 years at the end of that administration. So when we have people who are clueless, who have no plans, who cannot even implement their own plans, their own campaign plans, you can then imagine what it would do in the lives of a 28-year-old man whom for 4 years could not even have any bearing as against others who are doing well. So if INEC is not doing well, I think even before the INEC chairman is asked to go, I think the right thing they should do is, the fate of millions of Nigerian youths lies in this process. Since I did not do well, let me honorably resign and allow somebody who have the capacity to come in and get it right. But until we get to that level, I fear for Nigeria.
All right. Bleak Christmas as cargo volume dips by 40%. And they are giving excuses. Importers blame high exchange rate, clearance, shipment, diversion. You see this? You saw this coming?
Well, it's not new. It has always been happening. The moment when you see cargoes, ship full of cargoes coming to the country, and then when they are leaving, they leave empty. I mean, it shows that a lot is happening. So this is a part of what is affecting our FS economy, the economy of the country. But most importantly, too, those who try to bring in goods are highly overtaxed. Custom duty, import duty, a lot of it all. And this rubs off on the cost of goods and commodities as well as services in the country. And these people that you are bringing these products to, their purchasing power is extremely low and every day being reduced. So you spend that high amount of money, bring the goods or the commodities into the country. People that you want to sell it to, even though they have the numbers, but they are not buying it because now minimum wage that should be 77,000 that you have not released, they are still being paid 30,000 for or 33,000 for those that are still earning it. But cost of fuel, just cost of fuel and other things that
Very
are the
high.
basics have taken off that income from them. So how then would they have the resources to begin to go for those kind of commodities? I think it's a wrap-up situation, and it is only the government that can come into this, begin to bring in waiver where there is need for that.
The rate of this is really, really alarming, especially when you go to the market. You look at yourself and you think about your neighbor, whom maybe is a petty trader or something around, and you that is, maybe you feel you're kind of better, and you're feeling it. The pain is too much on you. How much more some people that are on the street? You can imagine at this time, we are in November, 3 pairs of onions cost 1,000 naira as we speak. So I don't know. I don't really know how things are really getting this bad. And we have elders in Nigeria, we have leaders, and they seem to be doing nothing about the whole situation.
So, beyond the fact that a lot of things have been politicized and as well as taken to ethnic dimension in a way that when you speak, they then say, because you are not from that particular ethnic group, they say you are attacking an ethnic nationality. Then if you are from that ethnic group, they say you are a sellout, and then they look for other names to call. That is how complex it is. And the thing there is, we are in a death situation. It's a very, very serious one. Even if we are looking at that peasant farmer who is being faced with insecurity situations, or we are looking at the petty traders who live by what they sell, or we are looking at the laborers who go out to make money. This situation, everybody is now at par, even with the civil servants, who now, with everything, both transportation, both cost of feeding, everything is dependent on that minimum wage. I bet you, let's not say anyone is wealthier than the other. It is now unfortunate that in Nigeria, the gap between the high income earners and low income earners is widening.
So wide.
All the middle income earners, which ordinarily should sustain a society, because the high income earners might not want to get so low to reach the low income earners. And then the low income earners, we find it very difficult to even access the high income earners. But the middle income earners are those people who have a face to interact with the high income earner in certain areas, and also interact with the low income earners in another areas. But this moment when the middle income earners have been completely eroded, then that gap has given rise to all what we are seeing. And
all right,
this rubs off in the high sicknesses that we are seeing, because it is when you are well fed that you can have the immune system to withstand diseases.
All right, the Daily Times, let's see stories coming from the Daily Times newspaper. In front of the paper, we have World Bank uncovers $32 million missing from Nigeria's water project. Ondoguba, Governor Ayedatiwa reacts to election victory. Tinubu confers GCON on Indian Prime Minister Modi seal bilateral deal. After Vintiri, Adamawa will be far better than what it is. That's coming from Bello. Now, Tinubu heads to Brazil for G20 Leadership Summit. APC, PDP sweep Ogun Zamfara local government elections. All right? These are stories we are trending on the Daily Times. Let's quickly look at the Punch before we comment. Ayedatiwa's victory, INEC PDP disagree over alleged fraud in Ondo polls. The Punch newspaper, all right. We see Abiodu Adebutu clash as APC clears Ogun local government seats. 3,767 killed, 9-month road crashes. That's report coming from the Federal Road Safety Commission. Mpox vaccination begins in 7 states today. Dangote Ipman signed 240 million liters monthly petrol deal. Minimum wage, federal government to spend 6.5 trillion naira, says MTEF. Governors threatening reps over Tinubu VAT bill, coming from spokesman. Now, top doctors strike threatens operations in 83 federal hospitals. And that reminds me, I went with my daughter to the hospital last 2 weeks. They were on midterm break. And I found out that the strike was on then. So that strike is still on till today.
And this is still in the face of the threat or the warning or the alert that has been given by NCDC
about outbreak.
The outbreak coming
with the season,
the hot season, the dry season actually. Unfortunately, the previous time they went on strike, I know of someone who lost his life. Then the last time they went on strike, before this looming strike conversation, I also know of a guy who works with Choice FM in Nnewi who lost his life. What was the issue? It's not even like there was any complication. He was taken to teaching, but because they were on strike, they could not admit him. Before the wife could run around and a lot of other things, and before they could settle him down to another hospital and other things, finally, he lost his life. And this is a gentleman that just got married 2 years ago. Nigeria, unfortunately, has continued to kill dreams. Not only killing dreams, Nigeria, unfortunately, has continued to dismantle families, put families in disarray. Not trying to insult the country or the citizens or the leaders, but I think it is high time we understand the gravity of the decisions our leaders make and stop taking them for political excuses. When these decisions are made and the outcomes come before us and we tend to take them to become political, then it becomes two-pronged approach. But if we take these issues to be morality, to be people who are abdicating from their responsibilities, I think we would know how to deal with them. Why should doctors continue to go on strike? Then these doctors going on strike, do they even, they have the right to go on strike. But what are the measures that they are putting in place? And I bet you, many doctors in the public hospitals now have their own private hospitals. In a way that when issues come to public hospital, they refer those people to their private hospital because they want to make money. This is not an allegation. So the system has now been so bastardized that nobody talks about these things. Nobody says anything anymore. And these are happening if you don't have the resources to provide for your health. Even many people are losing their lives in private hospitals, and nothing happens. So I've said this before. With what is going on in the country, both political, economic, the kind of response our government actors who should be serving the citizens do, I think it's high time we all come back to renegotiate our rules of engagement. I've said this countless number of times.
All right. Let's go to the Vanguard newspaper now and see stories trending on Vanguard. Ondo, how APC's Ayedatiwa flawed PDP's Ajayi, others. Inflation trend overruns federal government's target to cross 35% by year end. We are relevant, Konwa replies ASU. The discordant tunes trail APC's World Congress in Rivers. Tinubu departs Abuja for G20 Leaders Summit in Brazil. Nasima petitions federal government alleges illegal operations of NIDC India in Nigeria. Okay, other stories. Court stops embassy from imposing fines, sanctions on broadcast stations. Nigeria, India to boost economic defense, health, food security ties. Sokoto farmers to federal government intensify efforts to flush out Lakurawa terrorists. And quickly, let's see the Guardian newspaper. On Guardian newspaper, we see leveraging shared history, Nigeria, India to expand 7.9 billion trade ties. And of course, still in front of the Guardian, we see Ondopo, Ayedatiwa retains seat as Tinubu tells PDP others go to court. All right, to see court stops NBC from imposing fines threatening broadcast stations. How double-digit interest rates scuttled local vehicle acquisition. Yield-tight spending, supply disruptions to push inflation up 34.45% this month. House meets Tinubu's team on tax reform bills. Islamic scholars decry rising sexual gender violence in North. Lawsuit CMD 6 review of abortion laws. And of course, 2025 budget, experts divided over 1,400 naira per dollar exchange rate, others. And that's just that. And I think we have one story coming from these two papers, court stopping NBC from imposing fines and threatening broadcast stations. I don't know. The functions of NBC include, checkmating the excesses of broadcast stations. And when they don't impose fines on these stations, what do they now use as yardstick?
So that is the beauty of democracy, really, where in as much as you have your freedom of speech, there should still be other apparatus of the government to checkmate that freedom. Otherwise, everybody will go haywire. And that is also why the NBC. So ordinarily, I would have said the NBC finding these broadcasting stations, is it a way of gagging them, which should not be allowed? Also, thank God, that is why sometimes we cry that every institution should be made to function independently, especially those ones that are relevant to the well-being and sustenance of the people and then the country. So I think the NBC still have the responsibility to checkmate media houses, to checkmate their excesses. And that is also why we have the court. So when any media house feels this is unbearing or overbearing, this cannot be allowed to stand, they go to the court still. So all what the NBC had done can then be subjected to the scrutiny of the court to find out if this is out of order or if it is in line, which we are all entitled to. But at that moment, when the people are now disinterested in court processes or court outcome, it shows serious cause for concern. That moment when NBC is tending to be compromised, they are now going to political. And now, there is now this strong allegation that the court is now being bought over by the ruling party, as it has always been in the past. So the question now becomes, what is the fate for free speech? What is the fate for freedom of expression? What is the fate for people to say the truth?
And talking about the court, you see our president telling PDP and other political parties in Ondo State to also go to court. So
I think that is what it should be naturally. I mean, when you are dissatisfied over any cause, the right thing is go to court and let the court decide. But the question now
is one thing.
That is the main question. So the question now is, what is the interest of the court in all this? Does the court have the liberty to look at the truth and not begin to take unnecessary side and begin to look for, what do they call it now? Technicalities, use technicalities to cover the truth. And I think that word technicality is what has brought us where we are. Because you don't want to spend more money, because you don't want to destroy the polity, that is where we are. That is why we are where we are. But unfortunately, let me say this. Beyond who won the Ondo election, beyond the president saying people should go to court, beyond APC celebrating, because the interest of every party is to have their own people win, right? But I think the major cause for concern for me is voters' turnout. If you check, by INEC's estimation, we have close to 2-point-something million voters that are eligible to vote. But if you look at the eventual people that voted, through 20-something%.
Are you surprised?
So it's
Nigerians don't you think they've
really
lost confidence in the system?
So you don't lose confidence and then pull yourself away from a system. The only way you can show that you are dissatisfied is for you to fully get involved. Because eventually, even if it is 10 persons that come out, the vote might be decided by that 10 persons. And then others say it doesn't concern them. But invariably, it still
And you
affects
think it's easier to rig when there is voter apathy?
It is very easy to rig when there is voters apathy.
Okay, let's go to the Daily Trust newspaper and see stories trending on the Daily Trust. President Simon Obasanjo, IMF slam Tinubu's reforms. There's riders there. Nigeria under state capture, ex-president Obasanjo speaking. Initiatives confronted by adjustment fatigue, IMF speaking. Now, APC retains Ondo as Ayedatiwa elected governor. War on Gaza, UN Committee Human Rights Watch indict Israel for genocide. Former NIA DG Zakari's son died same day. Power outage, small businesses turn to alternative energy. And of course, option costly, the deplete capital, traders, artisans. Man's exporters task federal government on green electricity. Whereas these are the stories on the Daily Trust. We equally take the Nigerian Tribune before we wrap up. We see with landslide victory in Ondo, APC says Osun next target with riders there. Ayedatiwa wins all 18 local government areas. Dedicated victory to Akeredolu secures 366,781 votes. PDP scores 117,845. It's the worst election INEC has conducted. That's coming from the opposition, PDP. An election far from credible. CUPP go to court. Tinubu tells aggrieved candidates. And of course, development spending threatened as state-owned contractors billions of naira. Abbas Akinyemi Moralo congratulate Tribune at 75. Other stories from the Nigerian Tribune. Nigeria's corruption level at fatal stage, Obasanjo speaking. Tinubu outperforming Obasanjo, says Afenifere chieftain. Okay. Other stories there. Tinubu condemns GCON on India Prime Minister Modi. Confess GCON. Okay, that's the commander on the Niger, Grand Commander on the Niger. Now you have to face realities. Konwa replies ASU. Importation of food items won't solve Nigeria's economic problems, Muswen says. And of course, this goes worsening our plight. Small business owners cry out. All right, which of the stories is of interest to you? Quickly.
Let's go a bit foreign. The Gaza-Israel war is not helping the situation. Unfortunately, the world has become so polarized that people don't see good and bad anymore for that to inform our judgment. What we now see is political linings and self-interest, which affects negatively the outcome of the world. And then I continue to ask, what is the impact of the United Nations in all this? I know after the Second World War, United Nations was set up to curtail some of these excesses. However, a lot of persons have said that United Nations is just like a toothless bulldog who have been set up without strong measures to act. And what do you expect when United Nations is even funded by a lot of these countries? So when the situation is he who pays the piper, takes the tune. I think it's unfortunate then that those who are the major money bags will tend to influence the decision of the United Nations at the detriment of lives and property. While we are talking about Israel, Gaza, let's not forget Russia, Ukraine, that the Russian president is now threatening to declare full-blown war on NATO as a whole. And the question becomes, what is the implication of this for third world countries? What is the implication of this for our economy? What is the implication of this for the world food security? What is the implication of this for health? So, especially now that the world is a global village, I think it's high time people stop the unnecessary political underplay. I mean, there are rules and regulations. Let them be followed. Otherwise, we'll be having this situation. And it becomes an aberration if it becomes that the world has been thrown into another war, third world war, because of the overbearing situation of our leaders. And the question becomes, why this is happening at the global stage? What is the state of this for us in Nigeria? How are our leaders learning from these things to protect the food circle or food structure of Nigeria, so Nigerians will not die hungry? I mean, we are not in a state of war, but things are necessarily difficult for Nigerians. If we go into a world war, what would happen? And that is why we are telling our leaders it is enough. Both the elder statesmen, both our traditional leaders, both our religious leaders, and then our political leaders, why they are making their decision, why they feel they are God or demigod, why they say nothing can happen, why they beat their chest. They should understand that the lives of even those under 5 children lies in their hand. And at a point in time, a time would come when they would need to give account of all this.
All right, Sophia, for the situation on ground, at this point, would like to call it a day on the press review. Would like to thank you so much, Samuel, for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that's it on the press review for this morning. We have more coming up on Good Morning, Anambra. Do stay.